Hello, welcome back to the Timesink Anime Podcast. We're on week 5 so far of summer 2018. I'm Rex, and this is my co-host JT.
Sup, everybody?
We're gonna get some actual nice weather, apparently, from my house.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's been like ridiculously sunny and ridiculously hot lately. So we're actually getting overcast and cloudy, which I'm actually a bigger fan of.
Yeah, we're up in Washington, and finally, for the first day in about 2 weeks, we're able to sit in the room without being drenched in sweat.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy these past few weeks.
Which, like, when you're sitting down watching hours of anime in one sitting, it's just not fun.
No, it's even less fun when we have to turn off our fan to actually record these things, because we're just like, it's exhausting.
So, week 5... we're going to go into, the first show is Angomoy, episode 5. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of action this episode in the beginning.
Yeah, it was more of a sort of emotional kind of setting up the situation.
Yeah, they returned to the capital, because last episode, Princess Terry was so excited to go back to the capital. They get back there and they see it burning. And then they make the decision to head out. While they're standing around talking about what they should do next, they see some scouts pop up. The scouts slowly start walking towards them on the horses, and Jinzaburo notices that they probably saw them. He thinks the scouts probably saw them, and so the scouts turned around and started walking away. But Teruhi, just seeing her capital burned to pieces, and probably a lot of people she knew just murdered, couldn't control herself, picks up her bow, shoots like 3 of them in the head, and then they have to, go out and kill the rest of the scouts.
Mm-hmm. There were only 3 scouts, actually.
Was there? Okay.
She shot the first 2, no problems. The third one almost managed to escape, but then somebody else managed to pick off the third one and not kill the horse, though. So the horse ended up going off without its rider.
That's what Zebra was worried about.
Yep.
So after that, they realize that they're not... they need to head to Aso Bay, and they're not going to make it unless some people stay behind to stop the Mongols, because the Mongols are pursuing them throughout the forest.
Mm-hmm.
So Jinzaburo, with his military expertise, decides that they need to set up a fortress. And everyone's like, whoa, what do you mean? We can't do that. We have no materials. And he points out a choke point on the mountainside, which is like a small path that the army would have to take to get to them. So he sets up a defensive formation where everyone has like their bows ready. And then you have the spears and the sword people up front. And then he sets a number of people's spears at the bottom of the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a few feet below the cliff. And they set up a defensive formation. They fight the Mongols for a while, manage to stop a lot of them. And then it gets to a point where Jinzaburo has a flashback with who? It's like his old friends?
It was like an old friend, somebody who knew his father. Yeah.
Yeah. And it shows them playing shogi. And then another lord comes in and starts attacking. Jinzaburo comes back, tries to stop him. But in the end... Jinzaburo ends up getting captured, and his friend, the lord who knew his dad, ends up getting his head cut off, and that's about where the flashback ends. And then you get back into the action. The Mongols have some bombs. They actually start losing their footing a little bit, but Yajiro, he's part of the military, right?
He's part of the So clan, yeah.
Yeah, the So clan. He starts to worry, like, why are we here? What are we fighting for?
Yeah.
As, like, the meme.
Mm-hmm. He starts worrying about why they're fighting and just thinking that it's kind of pointless. They're going up against like an unbeatable foe, so why are they fighting?
Yeah, and then Jinzaburo tells him, well, you're a commander in war. You don't have the luxury of that. You shouldn't be here if you don't know why you're fighting. Mm-hmm. And then Yajiro takes a step back, thinks about it, and then he kind of resolves himself that he's there to protect his people. And that's about where the episode ends.
Yep. So let's just talk a little bit about the defensive choke point they set up. That scene was really cool.
Yeah, it's showcasing more of Jinzaburo's military
prowess. Yeah, just like and then he makes spears. It's like, yeah, this weapon's called a spear. Apparently, nobody on the island knew what that was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's a spear, and I'm like, oh, what's a spear?
Yeah, and then it's just like, all right. So it was just really cool to just see like a few Mongols like round the corner, and then like Jinzaburo running up and slashing at a couple of them, and then getting them all pinned down with archers, and just this repeating for a while.
I thought they were going to just make a mountain of bodies to make it harder for them to cross.
Yeah. But then what was even really cool was that it's like they realized that when the Mongols started throwing bombs at them, they realized, oh, the bombs don't do any damage to you really if you don't let them actually hit you. They're mainly just used to be a distraction.
Yeah, those big blinding flashes and stuff.
And so when they managed to get the Mongols down into a pit, and then they just surround them, and then it's like, everybody fire!
Well, yeah, and before that, they had the point where the Mongols were walking, Jinzaburo backed up, and then all the people from below just started stabbing the Mongols in their guts with spears.
Oh god, it was so cool.
They was like, hey, this is fun! I think that's one of the guys said, this is pretty fun.
Yeah, this weapon's pretty fun.
But then they get to the point where they're all trapped down there, and it's just like a shooting range. People getting just shot in the chest. It's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, because it's like they have no way of defending themselves or anything. So
it's just a massacre.
I guess that's the whole point of war, but all the same, yeah, it is kind of difficult to watch.
It would suck being in that situation.
It's cool to see the strategy pan out and wanting to see Jinzaburo and everyone else succeed, but then it's kind of shitty when you have to see like a bunch of people who are more likely than not just following orders and just having to die like in droves just because of it.
War never changed.
But the other really cool part of this episode I liked was that flashback. Flashbacks are almost universally a staple in these kinds of shows, and this one was just like it was a nice handling of Jinzaburo's past because the Lord, his old friend, compared war and shogi and pointed out that Jinzaburo is terrible at shogi because he refuses to sacrifice pieces. Like, he refuses to let any piece die, which is kind of a necessity sometimes in shogi. Yet somehow that makes him a better general, too, later, because it's like, he tries to preserve as many of his soldiers as he can, and make sure that as many of them get out alive.
Which, that's admirable.
Yeah.
And I really like that about his character, but I think that's going to probably cost him.
Oh,
eventually.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I guess it already costed him, because I think at the end of that flashback was probably around the point where he was detained and sent off as an exile.
Yep.
They probably, maybe, like, I'm assuming they might have framed him or something for the death, and Jinzaburo doesn't seem like the kind of guy who is going to defend himself when he knows that no one's going to listen to him. He's just going to shut up and be like, whatever, all right.
Oh yeah, it's important to mention that the people who attacked him were aides to the shogun, so he had less of a case. Less of a case.
Yeah, they could just pin it on him easily. I'm sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that is more of what happened to him. But I think one of the last thing to talk about as far as that flashback goes is like the final words from his old friend to him. It's just like, you may not remember the face of your father, but at least remember my face and let that serve as your surrogate.
And then he gets his head chopped off and he's looking at his dead face.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I just thought it was a kind of nice moment. It's like, hey, you may not remember your dad, but at least basically what he was saying is just like, you're like a son to me. You're probably more of a son than his actual
You're
son.
like a son to me, an alive son. Well, I am dead. Think of me, your dead father.
But yeah, this week's episode was really cool. Seeing a character, Jiro, you said his name was?
Yajiro, yeah.
Yajiro.
I really liked that part in the end, where just a few episodes ago, he was just kind of like, why are we fighting? We should just be running away. There's no way we can possibly win. And he's butting into this kind of commander position, where he's actually, coming into his own and realizing that he doesn't care so much if he dies so long as he can protect his people.
Yeah, that's what really matters to him. Just saving his people, saving the princess, making sure that they can get out alive. So, and just that nice little moment of, it's just like, you take care of them in the front, I've got your back.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
that was the ending scene.
Yes, it was. And he's just
awesome.
got the bow and arrow to his back, and just like, yeah, I'll watch your back. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man, it's so cool.
Yeah, there's something always really cool about like back-to-back situations like that.
Yeah, and just it's like seeing like brothers in arms pretty much getting ready to go up against this unstoppable Mongol horde. So I really liked this episode. I'm looking forward to seeing next week and seeing more of Yajiro and Jinzaburo.
The epic conclusion of the cliffside battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna wrap up Angelmoy. What's next?
Next is Asubi Asubase. So we actually watched the intro this week for this show, and we realized how much of a lie this intro was.
Every time I see it, it's just like, oh, that's pretty and cute.
And it's just like, oh, yeah. And they're all in white, which is like, oh, it's supposed to be like a symbol of purity and stuff like that. No, these are just the worst people ever. But anyway, on to the recap. So the episode begins with Hanako going with the to a lunch meeting with the PASS Club.
A study meeting.
Yeah, study meeting with the PASS Club. And she, like, we don't see, like, her outfit at first, but we see her butler, Maida, I believe his name was, actually looking at her and concerned, but then it's just like, no, you go on, enjoy it. And then it actually, like, shows, like, the top of her head, and it's, like, kind of, like, white blurred out, and I'm like, what the hell is that about? Yeah. So she gets to the restaurant where they're all meeting up, and then she is wearing this ridiculous outfit. Like a
bee demon or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. It looks like a bee demon. Like, she's wearing, like, this stupid hat, and it's got horns and stuff, and it's, like, it's just, like, pink and purple. It's just an abomination of an outfit. And so, we see them, like, kind of just talking the meeting, just kind of enjoying each other's company. And then Hanako notices Kasumi, spinning a pin between her fingers. And Hanako tries to replicate that. It is kind of failing at it. So then Kasumi shows her, and it's just like, you'll get the hang of it eventually. And so it's like, oh, that's kind of a nice moment. So basically what happens is she spins the pin, it drops.
She flicks it.
She flicks it backwards. It goes flying into, like, one of the customers behind her's teacup. It, like, spills hot tea onto her teacup. She's like, ow, my hand.
Onto her arm, yeah.
Yeah, and then she drops her cigarette or something, and it lights the curtain behind her on fire and proceeds to catch the entire restaurant on fire. And it's just
apparently the restaurant is made out of tissue paper.
Yeah, and apparently also lined with nitroglycerin or some stuff. And then it's just like, everything was wiped clean. It's like, oh, that never happened. It's like, I saw a demon.
Yeah.
And then
in a weird outfit. Has anyone seen her?
And then Hanako, Olivia, and Kasumi are just in the crowd pretending like, yep, that didn't happen.
And Hanako's in, like, some quickly changed clothes.
Yep. So that was the first skit. Like, usually this show splits up into 4 different skits. You want to pick us up with the next one?
Yeah. So next up, they had Olivia rushes in when they're all sitting there playing some kind of game. Hanako is holding on to Kasumi's arm, and I don't know exactly what they're doing. But Olivia rushes in, and she's like, I've got big news. You need to listen. Hurry, quick. And she tells everybody that there's, like, a boy at their school. Yeah. And Hanako's immediately skeptical about it. She's like, oh, well, what do you expect me to answer that? And it pans over to Kasumi, and Kasumi's just like...
yeah, because she's absolutely terrified of men.
Yeah, so they try to figure out who it is, think of a couple different examples that don't fit, and then they realize that there's a student who doesn't do swim practice. They change in a separate part of the room, and Olivia tells them... Well, first Olivia tells them about the situation of she looked out her window, and she heard about a girl and a guy arguing about whether they should be together, and the girl's like, I have the same thing as you down there. And she runs off, and the guy's like, I still love you anyway. But she runs away. And Olivia tells them all about that. So they think about, there's one prime suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So they go find that person. Alzorda is their name.
Mm-hmm.
And they question, Olivia's like, well, how about we play a game where you guess why I'm talking to you? and Alzorda is like, oh, okay. Kind of smug about it. And she's like, okay, do you know why I approached you? And then Alzorda says, well, does it have something to do with what you saw last night? And then Olivia's like, yes, in English. Because whenever Olivia gets nervous, she starts talking terrible English.
Yeah.
She's like, did you hear everything I said last night? Yes. And they go into a situation where Alzorda tells them, oh yeah, I was just pretending because I wanted an excuse to dump him. But Hanako immediately was like, Hanako's danger sense kicked in, and she immediately thinks something up, and that's the end of the skit.
Yeah, the third skit is when we meet the creepy ass leader of the occult club.
She's adorable.
But she's so creepy. Oka is her name.
Yeah.
And so Oka has these really wide open eyes all the time, and it looks like her eyelashes were just drawn on with mascara or something. It's just in a perfect circle around her eye that is always open. It's pretty creepy looking, and in traditional occult club leader fashion, she's wearing a witch hat. So she hears the PASS Club playing Kokuri-san. It's just like a Ouija board.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's basically like a Ouija board. And Oka was worried that the club was going to be discontinued because she was the only member. And then she hears everybody playing Kokuri-san and she gets excited. And she just opens the door. Everybody freaks out because they think, oh my god, it's Kokuri! And then, and she's just like, well, it's like, are you guys interested in the occult? It's like, no, we're not. She gets depressed. It's like, but it's like, we can play a couple games. It's like, do you know any occult games? It's like, yes, I do. One person, what was it? One person hide and seek or something like that?
Yeah, one player hide and seek.
Okay. So basically what happened was she took like a plush doll, which was a poop emoji plush doll pretty much, like stabs it, and then takes all the cotton out, sews it back up, and then puts it in a sink nearby. And then, after she puts it in the sink, it's like, we found you, Maida, which was the name of Hanako's butler, just because Hanako was saying, hey, let's give it a name. Let's name it Maida, just because. After that, then they go to the other half of the game where it's just like, all right, so you actually now just have to hide from it, and supposedly the doll is supposed to come looking for you. And they start hearing creepy stuff, and they go running out and crying. It's just like, oh my god, Maida's on the loose! And it turns out it was all a misunderstanding just because some girls later were just like, I can't believe that somebody just left a turd in the sink. Glad we threw
We're
it
such
away.
good people for cleaning it up.
Yeah. And so yeah, that was the end of that skit, pretty much.
Yeah, and then the last one is the girls talking about how babies are made, which is a wonderful scene. Hanako immediately was like, yeah, I know how babies are made. It's from French kissing.
And it's like, what is... It's like, do you even know what
do you
French
even
kissing
know?
is?
And she's like, yeah, it's like kissing, but French, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Kasumi is like the only one in the room who actually knows how babies are made.
Yeah.
But Kasumi is Kasumi, and she doesn't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, she's way too embarrassed.
So she has dolls, and she tries explaining it with the dolls, and she like puts them together, sets them down like on top of each other, and she's like, "This is the best I can do," and she just steps away.
And they even blur out the dolls.
Yeah, they blur out the dolls like it's some kind of graphic scene.
And then their teacher comes. Teacher shows up.
Their advisor shows up. Their club advisor.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name as advisor.
Yeah, they mostly just, as far as I remember, they just referred to her as teacher.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, she shows up. She sees what they're doing. She's like, "Oh, I know what that is." And they're like, "Can you explain it?" And she's like, "No, I can't." They're like, "Oh, we have these dolls." She says, "As long as I don't have to talk about it, sure, yeah, I can explain it." So she puts them in like she was talking to her friend. And apparently her friend was telling her, like, Kama Sutra sex positions.
Yeah.
So she takes the dolls and puts them in, like, gymnastic poses with their crotches touching. She's like, it's like this. and then she does, like, a bunch of different, more weird poses. And the girls are Hanako's like, I don't think I want to have babies anymore.
It's like, if it has to be this much effort.
And that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, so it was just much more of the same with this show, like more just zany hijinks. Like, I don't, like a lot of these characters I don't even think are going to make reoccurring appearances, as just seems to be.
No, yeah, it's only a 12 episode show. So there's just going to be different characters every episode, probably.
Yeah, I think Oka and Azora are just meant to be kind of like throwaway gags and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just like the
Shogi Club.
The Shogi Club president, yeah.
So
she did the epic jump
and
broke her body forever.
Yeah, and then the not so epic compound fractures all over her body. Anyway, so this show continues to be funny, continues to be crazy and chaotic, and really that's all you can say about it. Like, a lot of the skits are pretty funny, just seeing Kasumi being ridiculously nervous about sexual stuff, especially anything pertaining to men. Yeah,
which is funny because you have all these characters that are like just awful, and it's funny the contrasting that they still have human sides to them, even
absolutely.
though they're monsters.
I think the best part about the last skit though is like when Hanako, the whole reason she wanted to know how babies are made anyway is just because she heard some of her classmates talking about going steady with their boyfriends.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's just like,
jealous.
I want a boyfriend.
I want a boyfriend. And just goes into melty Hanako again.
Yep. Anyway, so what's next up on our list?
Next up, we got Attack on Titan.
All right.
The flashback episode is what this was.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a few of those this week, actually.
The episode started off with a flashback to Historia's childhood about how her mom was a terrible person, didn't want her. she was reading up about how kids normally get to hug their parents, so she runs up, tries to hug her mom. Her mom pushes her into the fence, like, gives her a bloody nose. And she's like, I wish I had the courage to kill you. Mm-hmm. But you see Historia just smiling because that was the first interaction she was ever able to have with her mom.
Yeah, because her mom never, like, abused her or anything at that point. She neglected her, like, didn't give her any attention. And it was just like, and yeah, it was kind of sad to see, like, Historia just, like, in that kind of situation nonetheless, because, yeah, neglect is still abuse.
Yeah. And then flash forward a amount of time. It was like a few months or so. Some guys showed up at their house. They brought out Historia's mom, and they cut her throat. And the whole time, right before she gets her throat cut, she looks Historia in the face and says, "I wish I never had you." Mm-hmm. And then they kill her. They're about to kill
Historia,
and they're also about to kill Historia's dad. And he says, "I never had anything to do with these two." So they kind of let him go. And then right before they kill Historia, her dad comes back up and is like, "Wait, what if we just throw her off in some podunk place out in the middle of nowhere, and she can live a quiet life as long as she never brings any of this up?"
Yeah, and your name will be Krista Lenz.
Yeah. And I guess they have a small amount of humanity to them, whoever was killing them. So they're like, okay, we don't have to kill this little girl.
Yeah.
She can just go off. And that's where the flashback ends. And it goes back to Historia talking to her dad.
Yep.
For a little bit. And then you get to the prison scene where they put Sanes back in the jail cell with Ralph. And Sane's all freaking out, like, you betrayed me. And they tell Sanes, like, no, he never betrayed you. Which he's just like, oh, so I'm the only one who betrayed you, or betrayed the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And then it's Erwin and Pixis' meeting.
Yep.
And Erwin tells Pixis about his plan to overthrow the government, and without any bloodshed. He wants to put Historia as the new queen, and just basically oust the old fake government. Mm-hmm. Erwin is then taken into custody because the military police pinned the murder of Mr. Reeves on him, which that leads us into yet another flashback of Erwin's childhood, telling about his dad and how his dad got killed because his dad told Erwin that, oh, here's the real truth. What was it about?
It was about, like, the history of humanity, actually.
Oh, yeah. And how they had censored a lot of stuff in the books. And his dad told him the real truth about the stuff that was censored. Mm-hmm. Everyone goes around spreading it to little kids because he doesn't know any better. He's like, oh, this is cool information. I want to share it with my friends. Mm-hmm. Then the military police kill Erwin's dad because he's a flight risk, which kind of sets this resolve into Erwin about spreading the truth to humanity.
And ultimately just wanting to take down the fake government.
Yeah. And then the final scene is everyone sitting around in a forest, Levi Squad conversing, and then two figures start walking up, and Sasha's like, oh, I hear people. Mm-hmm. And they point them out, and then the scene ends on those people slowly walking up to the camp.
All right, so this episode, while it was kind of flashback heavy, it did focus on some pretty cool elements, like figuring out more of Historia's significance here was actually really cool. Seeing the upbringing that she had and stuff like that, it's like no wonder she became a little bit more I guess cynical, because like in the first couple times we see her, especially in the second season, she was kind of putting up a facade. She was
very nice and
prim
and proper girl.
Yeah, just trying to be happy-go-lucky and stuff like that. When in reality, she was just hiding this kind of trauma that she was dealing with, like watching her mother, who didn't even love her, saying, "I wish I never had you," and stuff like that. And then seeing Erwin's resolve and why he wants to do the stuff he does was also really cool. What's more is just the opposition we see here. They were framed for this murder, which the military police obviously committed, but it's just like, yeah, the scouts are dangerous. They have the potential to actually show the truth to people.
Speaking of the military police murder, of when they killed Pastor Nick, I love that scene when Hanji tells them that Sanes is the only one who betrayed him, and she just grabs the cage, just is like, see what I did to you? You deserved all of this. and just getting to see Hanji's raw emotion of letting out all of her anger.
Yeah.
And then she just steps into the room. kicks a table over. Levi walks in and she's like, table fell over. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
It was a cockroach.
Yeah. But, yeah, and then Levi's like, well, I feel bad for any cockroach that comes across your path or something snarky like that. And now Hanji is the acting commander of the scouts, and she's trying to reconvene with the rest of the scouts, I think, because they're being arrested left and right, and she and whatever scouts are able to escape are trying to reconvene with Levi's squad. I really liked the intrigue in this episode.
I like the connection that we're getting to the opening now.
Yeah.
Because the opening is mostly just showing everyone's childhoods.
Yeah.
And the flashbacks.
Just the things they've lost.
Yeah, and it's kind of showing the theme of this season, which is just slower.
Yeah.
More thinking back.
Yeah, kind of reflecting.
Yeah, reflective, yeah.
Yeah, and I really I've said this before, I really do enjoy this opening. It's certainly different than the openings that we had in the past, but I really enjoy this one.
I didn't enjoy it at first, but it's definitely, like, after watching it 2 or 3 times, seeing all the symbolism and stuff.
Yeah.
And the song itself, too, it's all growing on me. I love it by now already. It's different, but yeah, I love it. That's going to wrap it up for Attack on Titan. What do we got next?
Next, we have Banana Fish. This was a ride and a half. So, what we had this episode was Ash getting let out on bail out of prison. He starts off by saying it's like talking to eBay's police friend Charlie, saying it's like, I had a brother, and like basically trying to, despite already knowing that Griff was dead, he was trying to guilt them and to making them feel bad. So it's just like, yeah, Ash, I need you to calm down. Your brother's dead. Despite the fact that he already knew.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah, when has that ever worked, right? But anyway, so they're driving along later, and it's just like, I'm so sorry this happened. And then it's just like, can you pull the car over? I think I'm going to be sick. And that gives Ash the time to pull the gun and pull a gun on them and try to steal the car. But then Charlie's like, Arthur?
Yeah, look out! It's Arthur, because the old look out over there trick.
Yeah. And then manages to wrestle the gun away from Ash, but then Eiji, in a strange turn of events, decides, you know what, I'm going to help Ash here. So he gets into the car, kicks Charlie off, gets into the car, and then drives off with Ash. The two of them eventually meet up with Shorter and his gang in Chinatown, and they basically all form an alliance that is just like, all right, we're going to kill Papadino together. It's like, because Ash, you can't do this by yourself. You're taking on a mob boss. He is officially confirmed to be a mob boss. Yeah. You're trying to take down a mob boss by yourself. That's not going to happen. You need help. So it's just like, all right, fine. You guys can help me. So they meet up with, I guess, like Chinese gangsters, I guess like triads or something like that.
Something like that.
They don't really explain, but it gives Ash like the type of gun that he likes, the Smith & Wesson, that revolver that he likes so much. Yeah, and then they decide that, all right, so Dino's going to be going to a specific club. What we're going to do is we're going to intercept him at that club, and we're going to kill him there. So they try that. The plan, of course, goes south, and then they eventually get into a gunfight, hop into the river and escape, and then they end up going to like one of Max's old storehouses to basically kind of lay low for a little bit. And the episode ends with Ash going to the roof and kind of lamenting on the fact that his brother is dead, like actually giving himself a chance to cry.
Sink in because he hasn't had a chance yet.
Yep. And so this episode had a lot of really cool stuff happen.
Yeah, that scene where they're driving the truck up to the club and Ash is standing on. You just see him slowly stand up with a gun in his hand in a cool-ass pose. There's awesome lighting behind him.
Yeah.
And the wind blowing through his majestic hair.
Dino!
Yeah. That was such a rad scene.
Yeah, and it was just like... And it would have worked, but then, of course, Arthur shows up and actually shoots Ash in the shoulder, I think.
Yeah, which makes the shot veer off and hit
Dino in his shoulder. Yeah. I wonder if it was actually they got shot in the same shoulder. I don't remember, but... That'd be kind of cool if that is what it was, just a nice bit of symbolism potentially. But anyway, the thing I kind of like about this episode is it shows that while we know that Ash is smart and methodical, when it comes to certain things, he lets his anger cloud his judgment, and we see that on full display here.
Yeah, because it's such a stupid idea to just drive a truck right up to him.
Yeah, drive a truck right up to him, try to kill him there, And then...
I mean, I don't know. I guess it wasn't a super stupid idea, because if Arthur didn't shoot Ash in the shoulder, I think he would have just shot Dino in the head right there.
But the thing is, it's like they probably knew that Ash was out there and was going to try and do that. So that's why Arthur was there to begin with.
I guess it was just a stupid plan that almost worked. Well, speaking of Dino, as if he wasn't already enough of a scumbag, it was revealed in this episode that, he has the private club that sells young boys.
Club Cod.
Yeah, and...
it's posing as a seafood restaurant.
So, not only is he selling young boys, he's selling young boys that he injects with, like, poison.
Like drugs.
So they're very weak, and they only live for, like, a few years.
Yeah, they can't run away, and he's got, like, has like a lot of high-end people. Like, it showed like one of the people, like a snapshot of them, and it's like, and it said like senator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, good lord, this is scummy. Makes me wonder if Ash was in a kind of similar situation, because he did say he abducts kids like me off the street.
I don't think he was planning on selling Ash.
Yeah,
that's why Ash didn't get injected with the poison or whatever. Because I think he just wanted to keep Ash as a play toy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Arthur. Dino has a taste for blonde-haired, blue eyes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, Dino's freaking creepy.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like scum of the universe. I am really waiting to see him get shot in the fucking face.
At least we got to see him get shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean...
And he was pissed.
Yeah.
Like in his bed, he was just like, how dare Ash do that to me? You can scoop out his eyes, break his arms off, tear off his legs, I don't care.
Bring him back to me alive.
Yeah, which just goes, that's...
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's a creepy thought. But this brings up an interesting thing that I was thinking about. So... we are getting to see more of Shorter, which I appreciate, because I think Shorter's an awesome character. So
isn't his last name like Wong?
Yeah, Shorter Wong.
Like, you can't get more Chinese than Wong.
Yeah, but but it makes me wonder if he's in much of the kind of same situation that Ash was. Like, also had somebody molest him or something like that, because that seems to be a running theme in this show.
I don't know about that. I think he's just he was a troubled kid, and it seemed that when they showed Ash's club, the bar, with his gang in there, it just seemed like a bunch of troubled kids.
Yeah.
And Ash just kind of gathered people up. Because Ash seems like a genuinely, while gruff and mean on the surface, he seems like a genuinely nice person.
Yeah, trying to get people out of the same situation that he was in.
Yeah, so he's probably just going around on the streets picking up kids that, were in trouble and just kind of helping them into his gang. I think that's probably what happened with Shorter.
The thing that kind of makes me think a little bit more that Shorter might have also had something similar happen to him is the intro. We see, like, in the intro, we see like somebody see like somebody reaching behind Shorter, like some kind of like
very creepily, like touching his face, like sensually.
Yeah,
that might have happened actually. That's a good point. So
yeah, I'm just I want to see more of this, because we got to see a really cool gunfight go down, and again, much in a very similar style to like Angelmore or even previous episodes. Like, when people get shot, they just like die. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't like over dramatize it or anything. It's just like people are dying in the streets.
Yeah, like with the little kid
Skip.
Yeah, he just bang bang. And he was like, he had a moment to like look at Ash's face. And then he was just dead. Yeah, exactly. And I think when deaths are not dramatized like that, they feel so much heavier.
Yeah, because it's just like, you don't even really get time to process them. Mm-hmm. So it gives moments when Ash is by himself and just realizes that, oh my god, my brother's dead. It gives it a lot more weight like that. So I'm really liking the show because of that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Ash actually hopefully get his revenge on Dino.
Yeah. Shoot Dino in the face.
What is next on the list?
Next up, we have Chio's School Road. This episode started with Chio standing in a crosswalk, really, 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 really having to go to the bathroom. And she's just sitting there in like a really rigid pose. It's like, oh god, I'm gonna die. And then the light turns green, and she's like slowly inching her way across the street.
Looks like she's walking with lead shoes or something.
She's afraid she's gonna pee if she relaxes. So she's running around looking for a bathroom. She walks down an alleyway, looks in a window, and she's like, all right, I'm going to concentrate all my power into this one jump. And she does like a really high jump, looks in. Oh, yeah, there's a bathroom inside. So she runs around, dashes through the door, sits down, pees, and just like, oh, yeah.
Sweet relief.
Sweet relief. And then she looks out the door, realizes, oh, that's a boy's urinal.
Yeah, I'm in the men's bathroom.
So she immediately shuts the door, sits there for a while. A couple people come in and go out, and she begins to hatch a plot. Like, well, they can't go out the front because that's where there was a bus stop outside. There's a lot of people out there. So she realizes she has to go through the back. So she hatches this plan. She sees 2 old men walking by, and then 2 high school girls walking by.
And then cats.
Yeah, and then a cat.
Oh, a cat, yes.
So she puts up a sign next to the door. A guy almost steps in, and then she sprays the rest of her tea on the ground. It's like, oh, it's a war zone or something like that in here. So
it's a disaster.
A disaster area, yeah. She has these little balls that they put in urinals to make a pee not harden.
Yeah.
She throws one out, nothing happens. And she throws a bunch of them out, and the cat... So it launches this Rube Goldberg machine of the cat jumping down to play with the ball. The high school girls go over, see the cat, so they lean down, like bend forward to play with the cat. And then the businessmen look over and trying to look up the girls' skirts when they're leaning over, and there's like, just a little more, which creates this blind spot.
Yeah.
So Chio is like, all right, it's my time. She runs back, gets a big jump, launches herself through the window. Turns out she gets stuck, so Chio's there with her underwear on full display, just twerking in the window, trying to escape, just her ass shaking around everywhere. And then she finally pops out and lands next to the cat. She's the cat, and they're like, what is she doing? How'd you get here? And she's like, Charlie!
George.
Oh, that's George, yeah. George, oh, I'm so glad I found you. You ran off. And she picks off the cat. And then the cat jumps off and runs away, and she chases after him to preserve her story.
George, thank you.
Come back, George.
And then it's just like...
That's where that skit ends.
Yeah, it's just like, what do you think was into her? It's like, I guess she just really likes cats. After that skit, we see the second half of the episode, which is we get to truly see how shitty of friends Monana and Chio actually are.
How real friends
They're shitty, but they are very real. So one of the members of the disciplinary committee, her name was Shinizuka Momo. So Shinizuka sees this, and she has a crush on Goto Sensei, the guy that is always standing around with a bamboo sword in front.
The probably PE teacher.
Yeah. And so it's just like, there have been some really weird incidents being reported around the neighborhood of people in our school. I want you to try and check this out. And she's like, yes, it's finally a chance for me to be useful to Goto Sensei. So she goes out and does that. And then she sees Monana and Chio just kind of walking around, having fun, talking. And it's just like, oh, it's like they're just the model students and model friends. And then out of nowhere, Chio just pulls out like a weed, and then just whips Monana in the ass with it, and they start fighting, and it's just like, they keep walking, she keeps following, and it just, Chio tries to climb a wall because Monana told her to.
I think it was a dare, probably.
Yeah, and it's really dangerous, and so Chio does it, has like and at the top, Monana has a bottle of water, and is drinking it. She doesn't help Chio up, Chio has to do that herself. And then it's just like, give me a drink of water. And then she was about to hand her the bottle, and then just sprays it over the flowers behind her.
No hesitation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, that's where that goes. But then Shinizuka decides to go, all right, I'm going to report you two because you're such terrible people, unless you can prove to me your true friendship.
Ugh.
Oh, God. And it's just like, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to do that thing. It's like, what thing? We'll all be dead after. It's like, you don't mean that. We'll all die if we do that. And they do what's called the Monana Chio dance. Oh, God.
Cringy.
It's just like, dance. Oh, my God. And it's just like...
Which, if you see little girls do it, it would have been cute. But when you see, like...
They're high school students. These are first-year high school students. And it's just like, oh, God. But that wins her over. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, all right, I won't report you guys. Oh, God. So, the first skit, what I really liked is...
Well, you missed a little bit at the end there.
Oh, yeah.
What I missed? When she had feelings for the guy, and then Monana was telling her, go for him.
Oh my God, that's right, I forgot about it. Just to prove, once again, how shitty of a person Monana is.
Yeah.
And then, that actually prompts another classmate to try to do the similar thing, but it's just like, it's like, oh, you want me to stop? It's like, oh, you want me to keep it the prim and proper act like you do?
There's another rival girl that appears.
Yep.
To try and... She sees that Momo has feelings for the teacher.
Yeah.
And she just kind of walks up to him. She's like this smug glare, and Momo gets pissed, and then the skit ends there.
Yeah, but so what I really like about this episode was just in particular, like I say that Chio and Monana are such shitty people, and they are shitty friends, but yeah, they are very real. It's just
it's like real friends. Bust each other's balls all the time. It just happens.
They do. They kind of tease each other, make each other miserable on occasion, and it's just like I think that just kind of it's like despite the fact that they're terrible people to each other, it's like we've been together since elementary school and we've always been like this, and it's like this really showed that with them.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing that I didn't like is that lately we haven't seen anything of Hisoka, their third friend, yet. Like, she hasn't showed up in a few episodes.
The fancy girl?
Yeah, the other main girl.
The popular girl.
Yes, the very popular one.
Yeah. I'm thinking, so in the opening, they have her they're hanging out all three together, and all of a sudden she just tears off her clothes and jumps away, and they have to cover her up. So I'm assuming that's every character in the show has like a quirk about him, it seems, and I think her quirk is either going to be exhibitionism or it's going to be like freedom.
Yeah, I think it's more the freedom thing, because if you think about it, she's like supposed to be like the model student, the model the model athlete, etc. So there's a lot of pressure on her.
Just let it go.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be Monana or Chiho who basically convinces her to do something like that.
I feel like it'd be Monana.
Not thinking that she'd actually go through with it or something. Yeah. So that's Chio's School Road. Continues to be very funny, very enjoyable show. Unlike Asabi Asabase, I've said this a few times, it seems like the jokes and situations kind of play up on each other and reference themselves and kind of build up. Like, there is a semblance of story here. So, next on the list, we have Hanebado. We get to see the conclusion against of the match between Hanasaki and and her teammate versus Connie Christensen from Fredericia Girls High.
Her teammate Rico.
Yeah, and so what happens is we get to see they are getting beaten by Connie, and eventually it's just like, all right, we have to work. We're going to work together. We're going to get through this. We just need to start responding quickly, just because they notice that Hanasaki's doing...
Coach notices.
Yeah, the coach notices that Hanasaki's doing worse ever since the interval, which is when Christensen, or Connie, ties up her hair like her mom used to. And so they start playing harder against Connie. It's just like, all right, so Hanasaki, you cover the majority of the back. And then Rico's going to cover the front of the ring. But it's just like, but that's going to be more of a...
more work on Hanasaki.
Yes, more work on Hanasaki. So, and it's just like, are you sure we can do that? It's like, yeah, let's do it. And at first, Hanasaki's kind of faltering and stuff. And then, but Rico's like, okay, I want to help her so badly, but the coach is right. I have to let her do this herself and get over it herself. So eventually, she starts delivering it back. They go neck and neck. It's a really awesome match. But then during the match, on the final swing, Hanasaki swings her racket, and her string breaks, and it goes over, and then Connie looks like she's about to smash it back, then her leg cramps up, and then Connie's teammate finally decides to step in and just get it back.
Takajo.
Yeah, Takajo decides to get back and just smack it back into the other side, and they end up winning the match, and Connie limps away.
Yeah, in typical Connie fashion so far.
Yeah. And then we see a moment of Connie talking with the other girls from Fredericia, or one in particular, saying...
The captain?
Yeah, saying, I feel like I did something bad to that girl. And we at first don't know who she's talking about. It's just like, which girl? And then she says, what was her name?
Takajo.
And then... Takajo. And then Takajo comes barreling out of the closet. It's just like... It's like, really? And they drag her away, and they take her to the baths, and it's a nice little bonding moment between all the girls. We get to see a little bit more of a human side. And then the training camp ends. We see the training camp end, and then Hanasaki decides to go talk to Connie. And then we reveal that, yes, Hanasaki's mom did, in fact, adopt, or at least meet up with Connie, like basically rescued her off the street.
We don't know if she actually legally adopted her, but she took her in as a prodigy.
Protege. She's my mama. I won't let you take that away from me. And so on the bus ride back, we see, but it ends with Hanasaki going, who cares? Who needs mama anymore?
I think they were just trying to console Hanasaki, and Hanasaki's not paying attention at all. She has the crazy eyes.
Yeah. So this show, the match between Connie, Hanasaki, and everyone, this was a really cool match because we do get to see Hanasaki getting over some of her hang-ups.
Mm-hmm. And you also get to see a little more about Riko.
Yeah.
And how Riko's not really the type to stand out on her own, at least not what we've seen from her so far, but she seems to really like to support her teammates.
Yeah, exactly. She seems to really want to support her teammates, and Hanasaki in particular, because everybody knows that, yes, Hanasaki's really talented and can be great, but if she just learns to get past her hang-ups. Mm-hmm. And we see that, because she's basically going point for point against Connie, who up to this point has just been like an unstoppable beast.
Yeah, specifically Hanasaki is catching all the smashes that Connie was throwing at him, which was their trouble. They couldn't get past Connie's smashes that were just getting point after point after point.
Yeah, and it was, and they pointed out that it was something that Hanasaki liked to do, which was figure out all the ways that she could return the shuttle.
Oh yeah, she was a little kid. She does the sweet like ninja jump off like a chair onto the mat onto the table, and then jumps up and knocks her mom's shot back. And her mom's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, and then we see a little bit of her mom, and it was just like
her mom seems kind of nice
at times.
At that point.
But then we see it's like score more points against me, and then I'll play with you as much as you want, basically trying to push her daughter.
That personality comes out, because when they're playing, she's having, her mom seems to be smiling and having fun, but when Hanasaki fails, mm-hmm. when she like drops it, Hanasaki says, no, I want to try again. That one didn't count. Mm-hmm. And her mom turns back to her with this cold stare, like, well, when you get better, you can play more.
Yeah, it was kind of unsettling to watch, actually. And then the show has a really uncanny knack for like making these crazy expressions for almost taking itself, displaying this kind of trauma like too seriously sometimes. Like we see Hanasaki on the bus, and it's just like these crazy eyes that are just like, it's like, good lord, I didn't think we'd stepped into Higurashi or something when watching this. I do want to see her go up against Connie again. I don't know, we were talking about this a little bit before, like, you thought it was kind of weird how they tried to humanize Connie, like, then immediately undercut her.
I didn't like how they had the part where Connie was feeling guilty, and she says, well, I feel bad about what I did to Tagajo. And then they pop out, or Tagajo pops out, and they have this kind of heart-to-heart moment of everyone kind of connecting with Connie, and her reconciling with the team about how she was kind of a shitty person during that match. And then they had this kind of almost redemption part for Connie. And then you immediately go back to when Connie is talking with Hanasaki. Connie just immediately shifts to this garbage, unredeemable human being of, well, I don't care anything about how you feel. All I know is I have a mama now. She's my mama, not yours. She doesn't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Which, it was a little annoying that it seems like a really weird narrative situation. I get that Connie is upset towards Hanasaki because it's almost like a possessive thing.
Yeah.
She feels like this is her mama now, so obviously she's not going to be that great. Maybe they did that little redemption part to show the contrast of how she is with other people compared to Hanasaki.
Yeah, I thought much of the same thing, actually, because I don't think that Connie is inherently a bad person, but yeah, as far as we know, she was abandoned, or her parents abandoned as a child, her parents died, or something like that, because we see her alone. We don't really know much. But then comes this person who basically saved her and took her in. And so obviously there's like a little bit of an attachment there, so I don't know. But yeah, it is weird to see that kind of dynamic between how she treats Hanasaki and how she treats everyone else. And it will be hopefully pretty cool to see her and Hanasaki at least come to not so much enemies as more of a friendly rivalry sort of deal. I hope that it gets to that eventually, but
it's either going to be that or one of them's going to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, which I hope that doesn't happen. We've already got enough mental breakdown stuff happening this season. Anyway, that's it. That's it for Hanebado. What's next?
Next up is Happy Sugar Life.
Yep, speaking of mental
breakdowns, yeah. So this episode started off with the introduction of yet another member of the colorful cast.
Yeah.
Sato is sitting at work in her room, changing, getting ready to go home, and she realizes that something in her locker was messed with, her tie. And it was the girl from last episode who picked it up and sniffed it like, oh, yes, Sato.
Yeah.
And it's her coworker Sumire, and she steps up to Sato, kind of admits that she's obsessed with her to the point of putting on the same makeup, the same perfume, clothes, all that. And then Sato realizes that this is dangerous. I can't have this situation going on. Because Sato's very cold and calculating, as she's proven many times before. So Sato, while the girl's talking in a very obsessed way, like, oh, I have to be like you, tell me everything about you. Sato
you live with your aunt, right?
But, and she cries more.
Yeah.
And Sato realizes this can't go on, so she grabs Sumire, pins her against the wall, just starts making out with her.
Yeah.
Tongue and everything.
Yeah, forcibly kisses her.
Yeah, and then goes on to say that she loves her, and that she only loves her because she is how she is.
Yeah.
She doesn't... So in an effort to get her off of her case, he says, I won't love you if you don't continue being you. Which makes her kind of cry and break down a little bit. And she says, well, I can't say no if you tell me something that makes me so happy. And then Sato leans in and she says, also, don't go through my things again. And she has the crazy eyes. And she's like, I'm mad.
Yeah, it's like, don't ever pry into my private life again. Otherwise I'll get very angry.
Yeah, and the other girl just falls down.
Yeah.
And then it switches over to Sato's best friend, Shoko, from her job, going over to Mitsuboshi's house. And Mitsuboshi's mom kind of leads her up. And she's like, oh yeah, Mitsuboshi's in the bathroom right now. Go ahead and wait here. And then Shoko leans back, accidentally opens the door into the Cave of Wonders that is Mitsuboshi's room of just pictures of Shio painting the walls. And she's like,
and they're
immediately
some on the floor and stuff.
Yeah, she's immediately freaked out because, as anyone would be in that situation. And then Mitsuboshi walks in like nothing happened.
Yeah,
he walks in like, oh hey, sorry, I was busy. And then Shoko, or he says, oh sorry, let me clean up my room for you. It's a bit of a mess. So Shoko is like, oh, okay. So she steps forward and steps on one of the wanted posters, and Mitsuboshi's immediately like, no, don't step on my angel, and he picks it up and holds it to his chest like, oh, this is my angel, and kind of talks about her a little bit. And then they talk for a little more, and Mitsuboshi starts talking about how, you know Sato, right? You're friends with her. I think that she kidnapped this little girl, and we need to get her back. And he's kind of like,
isn't that the most terrible thing ever?
Yeah, like, isn't Sato awful? And Shoko's Sato's friends, who's obviously like, no, Sato would never do that, because to Shoka, Sato is this perfect girl, her best friend, and that's when Mitsuboshi just he flips into crazy mode and just pins Shoko against the door. It's like, oh no, we have to stop her. We have to go save this little girl. And she's Sato's so dangerous.
And she's like, she's just like saying, "Stop her!" It's like, "Stop grabbing me, that hurts," sort of deal.
Yeah, and
eventually kicks him off.
Yeah, Mitsuboshi's in crazy mode, so he doesn't care. Yeah, he eventually kicks him off, runs away, runs down the street. She says, "Oh man, why do you have to be like this when you're so hot?"
Yeah,
and then she's sitting there looking at a wanted poster or a missing poster of Shiro on a pole, thinking like, "Oh, why does it have to be this way?" And then
Sato, what's going on is what she also feels. She also feels.
And then Asahi, Shio's brother, walks up and gives her this menacing look.
Yeah,
and that's where it cuts off right there.
Yeah, we did miss a couple things in this episode. We missed we missed more of Shio's relationship with Ghost Mom. She's back at Sato's in her place, just kind of hanging out, and we're like freaking out, really. And then it's just like she's having a flashback back to her time with her mom, and we realize that her mom, for some reason, also was like very cruel, like saying, "No, I forbid you from going outside."
I think she was being protective, like overly protective.
Yeah, and then also later, after the situation with her coworker Sato decides to go back to her place, saying it's like, so bitter, I can't believe I told a lie, I need something sweet. So she runs home, tries to find Shio, and then Shio is like in her room crying, or passed out. She's like, okay, I'm going to confess everything. And then she confesses the fact that she told someone else that she loved them. And
which I thought, because the way they were building up the scene, I thought that Sato was going to end up confessing, oh, I killed these people, like the people that she's hiding away. I thought she was going to confess everything that she did to Shio, because that's what it made it sound like.
Yeah.
Which I think was a pretty clever way of building it up, and building it up, and building it up. And then you have just her breaking down and crying, saying, I told somebody else I loved them. That was the big thing that was weighing on Sato's mind.
Yeah. And then Shio comforts her and basically says it's okay. And it's like, I'm sorry I lied too. Because she did reveal that, yes, I did talk to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, the two reconcile, everything kind of goes into like sparkly, sugary territory.
Yeah, and Sato, once again, Shio did something wrong. Mm-hmm. And Sato immediately says, don't worry about it, that's fine. You can do no wrong, you're perfect. Because Sato doesn't really care about Shio. She only cares about what she can get from Shio.
Yeah.
Which is filling that missing void in her heart. She wants to feel love.
Yeah.
So she's not caring. She's caring for Shio in the way, like providing food and shelter and all that. But she's not caring for Shio, like in the way where a parent should be teaching a child. She's not teaching her anything except that she just needs to be in the house and give Sato love whenever Sato wants it, pretty much.
Yeah. And so the episode also has another thing where Shio is asleep and Sato's watching her sleep. And it looks like a happy little moment, but then it's just like, you shouldn't... And then she's just like, this was my punishment. You shouldn't lie to the people you love if you commit a crime. But I won't have to tell Shio about that because what I did was not a crime.
Yeah, just the mental gymnastics of her convincing herself that she can continue to live in her happy sugar life.
Yeah. And yeah, so this episode in particular just made me super uncomfortable. I think Sato making out with Sumire was just like that scene, that whole entire scene just made me super uncomfortable to watch because it's just like, oh god. Because again, yet another crazy person to add to the colorful cast here.
Yeah. Also, you should point out that it made you uncomfortable in a good way.
Yeah.
in a way that like this show is supposed to make you uncomfortable.
No, that's exactly what I mean. Like, because the aim of any like psychological horror and stuff like that, and just the fact that Sato is just so manipulative and so dangerous, but nobody else really seems to notice or anything, that's what makes me uncomfortable. Like, and just the fact, just how easily she's able to play everybody. Like, we see a little bit of her manipulation at work when she's, when one of their patrons was actually with Sumire and was trying to say, it's just like, are you going to clean up that tea and stuff like that?
How do you spilled tea on me? What are you going to do? Are you going to compensate me or whatever?
Yeah, and then she's being sort of like huffy about it, like, I'm pretty sure you did that yourself, sort of deal. And then it's just like, what was that? And then Sato shows up to save the day. It's just like, and so she manages to basically kind of alleviate the situation. It's just like, here, I'll clean that up for you.
Pats the guy's crotch.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And the guy's just like, oh!
Yeah, and so...
diffuses the situation.
Yeah, so we get to see some of the her manipulation at work there. And just how she was just able to so adeptly twist the situation to her advantage. That's what made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, she's just so good at lying to people.
Yeah, so good at lying to people, so good at, and also just the situation itself just was uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, just, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna force a kiss on this person that I clearly clearly don't care about, but it's just like, they're in my way. So that's what made me super uncomfortable, really.
So really quick, before we move on to the next show, I want to talk about how I love the theme of this show of, it's basically making a big statement that first appearances are not all that they're cracked up to be.
Yeah.
Because every character in the show is attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, conventionally attractive.
Yes.
but at least every character they expound upon seems to have some kind of terrible secret below that they're not showing. So they kind of show that, oh yeah, look at these characters. They're all attractive. You meet them and you think, oh, that's a nice person, but they all have shitty personality traits beneath them.
Yeah,
and I love that they're keeping that theme consistently throughout the show.
Yeah, I like that too. It's a really cool way that they're doing it. The last thing that I personally want to talk about with this show is just, it's like, do we think that Asahi is going to become sort of like a crazy person too? Like, if...
I'd be surprised if he starts killing people.
Yeah, like, because we don't really know that much about him yet. Yeah. We don't really know about much of anything about Shio's family. And the last thing... Absolute last thing, sorry. So do you think Shio is sort of like, is just kind of going along with Sato just because it reminds her of her mother? Because her mother had much of the same kind of guidelines, forbidding her to go outside and stuff like that.
I think Shio is genuinely attached to Sato, but not in a healthy way. I think Shio sees, she has a dependence on Sato, so she's kind of convincing herself that there's love, and Sato, is very loving towards her, at least on the outside.
Yeah. So
Shio's kind of imprinting almost onto Sato, and almost like when young animals do it. Just it's a survival mechanism, pretty much, and I think that's what's going through Sato's little girl head.
You mean Shio?
Shio's little girl head, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all for Happy Sugar Life. Now what we got next?
Now we're back up to My Hero Academia. Apparently, this entire episode, or at least the majority of it, was anime-exclusive stuff.
Yeah, and it's all good.
Yep. So, we start off with picking up back with Todoroki fighting the ninjas. There's no way around it, they're ninjas. Yeah. And we see him doing that fight. We see him doing some pretty clever things, like learning how to manifest both of his powers simultaneously, like creating a smoke screen so they can't see him well, managing to light something on fire so that... it's just like, he's over there, let's get him!
He lit a metal sign on fire.
Was it a metal sign?
Yeah, it was a metal sign.
Oh my god. I didn't notice that. So, and then he manages to freeze all of them, and he manages to eventually, trap them like this and freeze them all in place, and it's just like, I'm passing now, basically. And he presses...
Wait, didn't he, set off a big explosion?
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. It was like a pink explosion. I think it was some gas or something.
Yeah. And then he manages to subdue them with his ice, and then he presses the, he basically gets all of them out, and he passes them.
I don't know how he got them out. Don't they only have, I guess, yeah, they only have 3 balls. Maybe he'd use theirs, too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and it also never did specify that you needed to throw them. You just had to press them up against the target.
Oh, yeah, maybe you can just tap them around with
beat,
one ball.
beat, and I'm pretty sure that's what he did. And then the rest of this episode was, it focused on Suryu, that's Froppy, Jiro, Yayorozu, and what was the other guy's last? Shoji, thank you. Yeah. Dupli Arms.
Yeah.
So they were all on a team. They all got split apart, and they ended up getting trapped in this huge building. Almost like a scene from Die Hard, where they're on this floor, and it's just there's a bunch more things.
It's like an office building.
Yeah, a huge office building, and a group of girls, we're assuming from an all-girls academy, that wore military-style uniforms.
I thought they were wearing maid outfits.
I thought they were sort of like a combination of military uniforms and maid outfits, it seems. But anyway, so one of them, the leader of the group, her name completely escapes me at the moment. She is basically sitting there drinking tea, and it's just this is all going to go according to my plan. I have the perfect formula for victory.
And she's like this, Ojo-sama kind of character.
And it was just so the first thing they do is when Jiro is listening around for people around the building, they play really loud music so that it completely disrupts your hearing all of a sudden. Then they start shooting out windows, and then after the windows are shot out, it manages to clip Jiro in the ear. And it and then the windows get sealed over with metal. Then they start turning the place's AC on, making it really, really cold, which knocks Sui out of commission.
Because she's a frog, and apparently she needs to hibernate.
Just like a frog does. And then it turns out that this is all going according to this girl's plan, who her quirk, by the way, is just called IQ, which is just like her has the ability to amplify her IQ, which is already 150, which is really high.
Yeah, something like that.
But it multiplies her IQ depending on what brand of tea she's drinking.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what?
Why not?
It's like, that's interesting. Let's go with it. So she planned all this out in an attempt to basically make Yayorozu waste her creation ability. And it's just like, okay, how are we going to get out of this? It's like, first we need to focus on getting Suyu stabilized, so I can't make an AC or a heating unit or anything like that. Let's give her a blanket for the time being. So they do that, and they're trying to think of ways they want to basically get out of the room and get everybody to safety. Like, at first it's just like, okay, how can we pass the exam? Then she switches her thinking, or it's like, no, let's instead focus on how we can get everyone out safe.
Mm-hmm. She has a flashback to Midoriya.
Yes. And so she decides then, when they're getting ready to storm the place, you hear like these huge like sound waves like just start bursting out of the door. Like, and it basically knocks all the other girls unconscious. Everyone else is okay because they're wearing like earmuffs. And then they start to walk out, and then IQ girl grabs Yayorozu back into the room and gets ready to take her out. But then everyone else decides, let's get her back. And so they break down the door, and it's just like, that's not the people we are. We're not going to just focus on trying to pass the exam. We're going to try and help our friends. And then finally it cuts back to Kaminari, Bakugo, and Kirishima, like all climbing up. And they see a bunch of gross, disgusting flesh blobs. And one of the guys, do you know his name?
Seiji Shishikura.
Yeah.
From Shinketsu High.
Yeah, he's got this quirk that basically is able to turn people into these flesh blobs. And so he tries to do that. He does that successfully with Kirishima. Bakugo starts taunting him in traditional Bakugo fashion, manages to make him get angry, and actually manages to turn the situation against him. And then it cuts back to Eraserhead talking with Joke again. It's like, ever since this year's has been really exciting for me, because there have been two students who have been like fundamental in shaping how Class 1A has been working together and shaping how they have improved. These two do not get along in the slightest, but they've been nonetheless instrumental in helping them actually grow as a class together. And it cuts to Midoriya and Bakugo just kind of standing back to back in sort of like a split image pose. It was really cool, and definitely shows that it's like, yeah, these two may be two sides of the same coin, but they're both instrumental in making things change a lot for the better at class, for Class 1A. So, overall, what did you think of this episode?
Well, first of all, you missed, I think at the end, where it was Midoriya, Uraraka, and Sero together.
Oh, yeah.
And Midoriya decides that they have no chance against such a large group of enemies, so they have to restrain as many as they can, try to win, and then get out. And Midoriya was saying he'll try and be a decoy for everybody. And that's when it cuts to Aizawa and Joke, and Aizawa stating that Midoriya and Bakugo are inspiring everybody.
Yeah.
So I really liked that little part. That was not in the manga. Or that point might have been in the manga, but I like the way they did in the anime. Stating that now that the symbol of peace is gone, even with the symbol of peace gone, there's still two members in Class 1A that are kind of acting as a localized kind of inspirational figure.
Yeah.
Where you have Midoriya, who is kind of cheery, tactical, kind of gets everybody to work together, and then everyone's inspired by that, and they kind of inspires them to be smarter, better heroes. And then you have Bakugo on the other side, the opposite side of the coin, which is rash, impulsive, but at the same time, just so much passion that also inspires people in a different way. And he's saying these two, they almost have kind of two cliques in the class. You have Bakugo squad, and then Midoriya squad. Yeah. Which I mean, I think Bakugo squad is like Kirishima and Kaminari. Yeah. Like, that's pretty much it. But, I mean, I'm sure everyone else is inspired by, back and forth. Obviously, Bakugo and Midoriya inspire each other. Yeah. In a rivalry way.
And Yeah, I think that is a really cool dynamic that they're finally showing more of. I think that Bakugo actually reminds me a lot of, as far as what he goes for, is he's trying to intimidate and taunt people and make them act angrily or rashly so that he can turn the situation around. Basically, like trying to tilt them, which honestly has worked a lot. It's worked a lot in his favor.
Like when,
like in particular in the most recent bit when the flesh blob guy he basically starts insulting him, like actually trying to goad him into fighting and stuff like that, and then he manages to dodge and actually take him out.
Does he take him out?
I think so, or at least he lands a punch on him.
Yeah, I don't think the fight ends in this episode.
But point being is that Bakugo reminds me a lot of Red Hood, kind of, from DC Comics. Somebody who kind of taunts and belittles people in an attempt to basically just get them angry and act more rashly so that he can gain the upper hand in fighting. Which is a little bit underhanded, but at the same time, it works.
I think that you're giving Bakugo a little too much credit in that aspect. I think that it certainly has the effect of taunting people and intimidating them. Maybe he does that sometimes, but I think most of the time, it's just Bakugo being an angry person and prideful. Because that's Bakugo's flaw, is he's too proud of himself and he has a hot temper.
Mm-hmm.
So most of Bakugo's combat skills and intelligence come from reflexes and some minor planning. But I don't think that a lot of his insults are planned.
Maybe not, but at the same time, that could be something that... But you have to remember that he is still young and all these heroes are still growing. That could very well just become a part of his style in the future.
Sure, yeah, like, later on.
Like, I mean, maybe I am giving him a little bit too much credit for now, but I guess that it was definitely more of a predictor. I can see where he might end up going in the future. Like, he is going to be that kind of hero, that kind of force that demoralizes villains before taking them out.
I hope so. I hope Bakugo stays how he is.
Yeah.
Just becomes a better hero. I don't want Bakugo to become All Might.
Yeah.
I don't want Midoriya to become All Might. I don't want anyone to become All Might. All Might is All Might.
Yeah, there's only one All Might, and there can be a new symbol of peace, but they need to figure out what it means to be the symbol of peace by themselves. And I like how the show is doing that so far.
Yeah, so back to the anime original scenes. Really well done. They have to pad out the show, obviously, because it's an anime and they're not going to have as much content as a manga, but it still needs to stretch out to multiple seasons.
Yes.
So I like that they're introducing new content without sacrificing quality.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a lot of shows like Bleach, Naruto, One Piece to a lesser extent, but still One Piece. And a lot of their fillers, you can tell that there's not a lot of heart behind them. They're just pumping them out because they need to make more content.
Yeah.
Hero Academia, at least in what we've seen so far, even their filler episodes maintain the same quality as everything they put out.
Yeah.
And I think that's really admirable from a studio where you have to produce an episode every week, which is a lot of work.
I can only imagine. Like, I've never animated anything, but I've had friends who studied animation and stuff like that, and they say, yeah, fry your brains, basically, by trying to work with the same image for, like, hours on end to basically make a 10-minute clip.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this being an anime original thing, I honestly really liked it.
Yeah, and as someone who didn't read the manga, did it feel out of place at all?
No, not at all. Like, this felt like it could have easily fit in the manga.
Yeah, that's what I think, too.
So, yep, that's it for Hero Academia. You want to take us on to the next show?
Next up we have Homes of Kyoto, which kind of kicked things up a notch this episode.
Yep, it seems like the translation for this episode is, we found the plot, guys.
So, it starts off with Holmes and...
Aoi,
sitting in the shop together. It's kind of business as usual. And all of a sudden, Akihito, the middle son from 2 episodes ago, I think?
Yeah, 2 episodes.
Shows up, and he needs Holmes' help. Well, first he shows up, and Holmes is like, you're here because you need help. And then Akihito's like, well, how'd you know? And Holmes is like, well, you're a busy actor, And
you wouldn't make a trip all the way to Kyoto just
to say hi.
Yeah.
So Akihito reveals that he's going to host an upcoming travel show, and he needs help learning about Nazenji Temple. And at first Holmes says, no, I don't want to help you with that. No way. But then Akihito says, well, when you talked to me before, just the way you talk, it really sticks.
Yeah.
And I really, really need your help. And then Holmes eventually kind of gives in and says, well, if you ask that way and you're that desperate, I can't say no. Besides, I have business there anyways.
Yeah.
and then, so Akihito asks Aoi if she wants to go too, and she says, no, I'm going to be busy watching the shop all day.
Mm-hmm.
So Holmes and Akihito, the next day, they go out to the temple. They walk around. Holmes shows Akihito the sights. Pointing out a bunch of different things. Akihito's
giving some history.
Yeah, Akihito says how amazing Holmes' insight is. And then they're walking off, and there's a little scene where Akihito's like, oh, let me buy you lunch. Let me treat you, please. And he's really passionate about it because he's really thankful for Holmes. So he grabs his hand, holds his hand, and Holmes is like, oh, well, thank you. But can you not hold my hand? And you look around and you see all the girls like
giggling,
laughing, and
some of them are taking pictures.
Yeah, and he's just like, I don't want anyone. I might not be super into women right now, but that doesn't mean I want anyone else to get
to misunderstand
our relationship. Yeah.
And then Akihito's just like, oh, okay, gets like oh shit, right?
So then Holmes shows up to the place that he said he needed to be there for. It's a monk. Our priesthood area,
mm-hmm.
and the priest, Ensho,
mm-hmm.
Says, please follow me, leads him through, points out some art as like a statue. And,
the treasures of the temple.
Yeah, and he shows him the specific screen painting that Akihito says, what do you think about that one? And Holmes says, oh, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Whereas all the other ones he said it's amazing.
Yeah.
So they go talk to the head priest, or the vice priest.
The vice abbot, yes.
Abbot, yeah. And he tells him how somebody sent a letter saying, I stole the dragon. Where Holmes very quickly deduces that it was the screen painting that it says was interesting. Like, yeah, that was already stolen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fake. And then he goes to point out that Ensho, the guy who was guiding them around, did it. And he figured it out because he was really nervous. Ensho was really nervous when Akihito asked more about the screen painting and tried to take a picture of it. And he's like, oh, no pictures.
Yeah.
And so Ensho reveals, it was I was the counterfeiter all along, even the one who sent that teapot or teacup in the first episode, and goes into this whole monologue about, yes, back when I was a child, blah, 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 going and telling how he counterfeited his whole life for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And he got bored with it, so I think he genuinely just kind of wanted to be a priest.
Yeah.
For a while. But Holmes showed up and saw the teacup thing, which kind of motivated Ensho into getting back into counterfeiting again. So Ensho stole the screen painting off screen.
The Ziryu, I believe is what it was.
Ziryu, yeah.
Yeah.
He stole it off screen. Holmes shows up, reveals the blah, 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 blah. Ensho steals Holmes' fan, and then jumps out like a ninja.
Yeah.
And Holmes is about to chase him down, and then one of the priests stops him, saying, yeah, we knew all along what Ensho was before he got here.
Mm-hmm.
We just thought that maybe he actually wanted to be a priest, so we gave him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go back. Holmes goes back to the office, talks to Aoi for a bit, realizes that his fan was stolen, hopes he can get it back someday, and then business continues as usual, and the episode ends there.
Yep. Well, you've missed the last thing, which is Holmes makes the resolution to find everything that Ensho has ever counterfeited and reveal it for what it is. So
the plot.
So judging from that is what the show is going to be about from this going forward. It's basically about Ensho counterfeiting stuff, and then Holmes trying to find it and point it out to people.
I think they're going to have more episodes in between that are just separate mysteries.
Yeah.
But they're going to interweave that now. Because they interweaved it in the first episode.
Yeah.
When they showed him at the end, just menacingly sitting in...
Yeah, just kind of in the shadows.
Yeah. I think they're going to... That's definitely going to be the central plot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still another 7 episodes.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think they're going to make 7 episodes of him chasing the guy. I think they're going to do 7 more episodes of some of them that, and then some of them little small-time mysteries.
Yeah.
At least, I also hope so, because I like the small-time mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
I like sitting... One of my favorite things about the show so far is sitting along watching Holmes trying to figure out the mystery and almost racing him in my head, trying to figure out the mystery before he does.
Yeah. Like, I had a feeling when they showed it that the scroll, that the Ziryu scroll or whatever it was called was the thing that got stolen. At first I thought it might have been the statue, or when they
creepy-ass statue.
When they first revealed it, it's like when it said, I stole the dragon, I thought that it was just like that part of the statue had like a dragon thing on it. I thought that's what they meant, and I'm like, okay, so I wasn't alone in that assumption. That's good to know. Anyway, so after that, it was just like, I just got the impression, it's just like trying to find out all the stuff that Holmes is figuring out and stuff like that, and racing him. Yes, that is the fun of a mystery show, trying to figure out the mystery before it's revealed. Honestly, I'm looking forward to more of this, and it's just like, Ensho seems to be like a really interesting character and a good rival for Holmes. A little bit disappointed that we didn't see so much of Aoi in this episode, but we did get to see more of Akihito, which is kind of cool. I think he's going to be more reoccurring.
I'm surprised he's such a recurring character. On the point of Ensho, I'm actually not super interested in this character.
Really?
I think he's kind of generic. They were trying to, in my opinion, they were trying to create a foil for Holmes. Give kind of more reasoning for Holmes to be interested in antiques. At least a villain. They were trying to create a villain. And at least in that scene where they told his entire backstory, I thought that was kind of tacky. And they could have done it in a more organic way instead of just monologuing it. Yeah,
that part I will admit was a little bit ham-fisted, maybe. I personally, though, like I've said before, you can't have a Holmes without a Moriarty.
Sure, and so they could have done it in a much better way. They could have revealed the villain much. I like how they revealed him in the first episode. Just kind of had him off to the side. I think they front-loaded all the information way too fast.
It would have been interesting, yeah, if they'd kind of if they had revealed it a little like more about his character. It's like, yeah, I was the one who did. I basically am a master counterfeiter and stuff like that. That was all interesting, but had they actually revealed more about his past, or even if part of the mystery was Holmes trying to figure out who he was and stuff like that, that could have been a mystery in and of itself. That would have been really cool to watch.
Yeah, it just the way he like monologued everything and then escaped, I think was kind of dumb.
Yeah,
I think it would have been a lot more interesting if, as they realized, I mean, it would have been a little cliche, but as they realized who stole it, if he just left, or he was gone, like he disappeared while they were talking and they never noticed him go away. Like, I know Ensho is, his personality is supposed to be like cocky, and he wants Holmes to know, because he's trying to test himself, trying to create counterfeits that Holmes couldn't figure out. But I think it would have been better if they slowly revealed
more of his backstory and stuff like that. I'd agree. Overall, I mean, I don't think the idea for a character like him is bad, but yeah, I will agree with the execution being kind of a little bit ham-fisted.
Yeah, so I think that's all we really have to say about that for this week. So, what do we have next?
All right. So next we have Overlord 3. A couple things about this. We start off with with the village, Carne Village, getting attacked by the forces. It's revealed to be the Giant of the East, and then so we reveal the first thing. Enri, yeah. Like, this is the first day I've been chief, and all of a sudden something like this is happening. And she says the following quote, "I feel like an evil god is watching me." I just thought that was a really good way, and it's like, oh, very subtle there, guys.
Funny little nod, yeah.
Yeah, it's like very subtle, guys. It's like, yep, Ainz is watching you. Always remember that. Always remember the power of Ainzul Gon. So the episode is just all about Carne Village trying to repel the ogres and trolls from the Giant of the East's army, pretty much, or I guess more his group, because he didn't really have much of an army.
It was an army that Ainz sent as well.
Yeah.
Ainz killed the Giant of the East and made him into a zombie, then sent him off with his army to attack the village.
Yep. So what happened was we got to see the goblins and the vigilante squadron, as they're called, like who had been training with the goblins in archery and stuff like that.
The villagers.
To help protect the village. And so we got to see them working together, and it's just like, all right, everyone fire! And like firing over the walls, like throwing these poison bombs or like something like that Neferia had made. Neferia Nefuria and Henry having to run back into town to make sure that everybody had gotten away. And just when they were doing that, another troll goes into, climbs over the back wall of the village so they can concoct a plan. It's like, all right, we've got to, we've got to try and distract him. And but one person just can't run away from them by themselves. We need to be able to switch places somehow. So it almost becomes like a Scooby-Doo chase. Where it's where one person goes in through one door, another person
wait
comes
for
in.
a Beatles song to start playing.
Exactly. And then it's just and eventually the troll catches on to the fact that they're, to what they're doing because he can pick apart their scents because apparently trolls have really strong senses of smell. Nefuria decides to say, Henry, get out of here and go. It's like I'll hold him off. At least let me protect the girl I love, sort of thing. And then, so he manages to outwit the troll for a little while. Then the troll just drills him a kick right to the chest. He's coughing up blood, and he looks like he's about to die. Henry ran and grabbed a few of the goblins, and they were getting ready to fight it. It's but we're too far away. And then, Deus Ex Lupus Regina.
I wouldn't use that term.
Well,
because it was something that was already planned.
It was already a loop. I mean, it
didn't come out of nowhere.
I'm joking, of course, but yeah. So Lupus Regina shows up, and then while heals up Nefuria, it starts, and him and Henry start talking, and she just kills the troll off screen.
She kills it off screen. They don't even acknowledge it because we already know how overpowered all these characters are.
But it just makes it that much funnier because it's just
smells like or looks like hamburger,
doesn't it? And then they're just, and then Nefuria and Henry are just looking at it in disgust. And so the village is saved.
Nobody dies.
Yeah, nobody died.
Which I'm happy for.
Yeah. I was hoping the whole time, oh god, don't kill the goblins. The goblins are so cool. And so the next day, they're getting ready to go to the Temple of Nazarek, where Einzul Gon's house. And so Nemu, Henry, and Nefuria are all getting ready to go. And before they head out, one of the goblins points out, it was weird fighting the troll. It's he didn't regenerate or move or the way that you'd expect a troll to at all. So it's just it's like we were fighting something that was already dead. And it was just a interesting little nod they did. So they go to Nazarek. They go to Nazarek and are talking about dinner. Nemu explores the place with Gon. And then, after a little bit of uncertainty for earlier, Henry accepts Nefuria's confession, and they are apparently officially a couple now.
Kinda.
Yeah. As far as we can tell. Mm-hmm. But, and that's where the episode ends. It looks like they're getting ready to have dinner with Ainz. Mm-hmm. So, this episode, I think it's a really cool little illusion they gave with the, it's we were fighting something that was already dead. It's it makes me wonder if it's ever going to come to a point where all of Ainz's deception is going to come to a head. If people from Carne Village or anybody else is going to be able to figure out who he is or something like that and be able to basically call him out on his lies in the future.
If it is, I don't think that they're, at least specifically talking for Carne Village, even if they do figure out he was lying, I don't think they'll be mad at him. Maybe. Because he's done so much for them already. Mm-hmm. I think, even if he says it was just a test, nobody died, so, they don't have that reason to be angry. Mm-hmm. I think just the way he's, even if his lies get revealed, the way he's setting everything up, where pretty much everyone he kind of takes under his banner, he either inspires them or gains their loyalty. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, honestly, he'd just have to get another sweet bluff check anyways to make everybody calm down again.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought it was an interesting little thing, and I was just I wonder if that's ever going to become a plot point, if anybody's going to be able to...
I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
I think it's been hinted at that Nefuria knows that Ainz is kind of... that Ainz knows something is strange about Momonga, his adventurer persona.
Yeah, I think I'll have to double check, but I thought I remembered Nefuria figuring out who he is.
Yeah, figuring out that he actually was Ainz in disguise.
But I have to double check that. I don't remember.
But... anyway.
I think I'd like to point out is, I feel like Ainz might have, what's his real life name? Is it ever revealed?
His real life name has not been revealed, but his in-character name has always been Momonga.
Yeah, I think him in real life might have a little sister or something, because it didn't feel like he was playing it up when Emmy and Fee and Nemu showed up, and Nemu kind of ran up to him.
Yeah.
Started playing around, patting her head. He seemed really enthusiastic about taking her around and showing her the castle.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he has a real little sister in real life. And
or a niece or something.
Or something like that. And he seemed really happy. He seemed genuinely happy. Because usually when he's lying, they show his inner voice as well.
Yeah.
He just seemed genuinely happy to show her around. And like, when he got back to them sitting down in the room, he's like, sorry.
No trouble at all.
Sorry it took so long.
Yeah.
Like, he actually spent longer than he intended to taking her around. I thought that was a little interesting character moment for Ainz.
I never stopped to consider that. That'd actually be pretty cool. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he had like a niece or something in real life, because as far as we know about him is like he was somebody that didn't get out very much, maybe didn't have like a wife or children of his own, but more likely than not had like family, like a niece, maybe a young niece that he loves dearly and wanted, or never really got a chance to spoil her like that, which is why he did it in the game. I think that'd be a really cool reveal, but at the same time, I don't know if we're ever going to see that. I don't
think it's necessary. I just thought it was a cool little thing.
That is a pretty cool little thing. I liked, but was also somehow creeped out by like how all the maids said in unison, "Welcome to the Tomb of Nazareth."
They have so much training. Of course they can do that. They're perfect maids.
It was so creepy.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, there was a lot more than I was thinking.
The combat maids of Nazareth.
Yeah, the combat maids of Nazareth. Yeah.
I didn't see... what was the girl that was with Sebas?
I know who you're talking about. I haven't
the girl Sebas brought back. I didn't see her.
Yeah.
I thought she might have been the one who was reading off the menu, but she looked kind of like a little more cold and calculating. I don't know. They might expand upon that later on with maybe Sebas going on a date with her or something.
I hope so, because I actually really like Sebas, and this character was important to him, so, and I like Sebas, so therefore I want to see more of those two together.
So, back to this episode, I liked the spotlight they gave to Infudia.
Yeah.
Where he had this little moment of, I'm finally going to tell her how I feel, and then he kind of, in the end he got his ass kicked by the troll. But he did a lot of kind of cool little thinking where he shot the acid arrow, realized that the troll was kind of wary of it, even though it didn't hurt the troll at all. Yeah. So he like shot the acid arrow in front of the troll to cut off like a path so the troll had to go around a little bit. He put on the armor first, which probably saved his life.
Yeah.
Because when the troll kicked him kneed him in the chest, it showed the armor glowed.
Yeah.
And then even after with taking the armor hit, he was like coughing up blood.
It's just like, well, at least I didn't die.
Yeah, this show has a really big habit of expounding on tons of other things that aren't the main characters, and I've never been upset by it so far.
Yeah, no, all the side characters and, for lack of a better term, NPCs and stuff, they're all fascinating to watch.
Yeah, this episode was really cool. I like seeing the goblin and people interactions in Carney Village.
Yeah. So the next on the list is Review Starlight. This episode, I was worried that we were stumbling into Happy Sugar Life territory in some parts. But anyway, this was about the character Mihiru, and basically it's all about her. It's all about her story now. When it's revealed that she's depressed about the fact that Karin no longer seems to need her because
and it punctuates that point in the beginning by showing she's waking up and Karin and Hikari are already gone.
Yeah, and she's just getting progressively more depressed. It's just like Karin was the one thing that basically gave me purpose and stuff like that, and so I'm just surrounded by so many talented people that it's just like I can't ever hope to compare to them. So Karin was basically that one thing that basically gave her life meaning. And then it goes into sort of like creepy territory, like she was getting ready to like drink off her water bottle or sniff the towel that she just wiped her sweat off with, and a couple other things. And
every time she does that, Hikari shows up. I forgot something.
Yeah, just always. Like, I think even in the first thing, she was on Karin's bed, and then just like I forgot something, and that was funny. And then she just gets progressively more exacerbated, and then just and then looks at Hikari and it's just, don't steal the thing I love, and it's just like Steal's a big word, don't you think?
Yeah, you should be careful how you use that word.
Yep. And so after those two have like their verbal shout off, it's revealed that Mihiru is actually now part of the auditions. We hadn't seen that before, but
I think she was before. They just didn't show her fight.
But so we finally see that yes, she is part of the auditions, and she and Karin go up against each other.
Yep.
And it's in a really surreal, bizarre, childish, almost delusional sort of deal. Like, there were, like, cardboard cutouts of things that represent her and Karin, and it's really, like watching this, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And Karin apparently felt the same way. She was, like, super confused. But, so while they're doing that, like, they're fighting, and then they go backstage, and then Mihiru reveals her insecurities to Karin, and it's like, I'll never be a star, I'll never shine like you all do, so please just go back to the way you were so that I actually have a chance. And then Karin basically gives her the speech of, you've been shining all along, you just haven't seen it, sort of deal. Then manages to beat her in the fight, and then everybody goes back to the real world, and they see like a video that Mihiru had that she couldn't bring herself to finish earlier. It was something mailed into her by her grandmother. And they're watching it. She cut it off before the point when an interviewer asked her, what kind of star do you want to be? And then we didn't see her answer at first, and then it was revealed, it's like, I want to be the kind of star that can make the people closest to her smile. And so that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, so I want to go back and talk about that whole fight scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well written how the show has given us so far an expectation of all the fight scenes were super dramatic.
Yeah.
Kind of set up this tension. And then you go into this scene where Mihiru is initially smiling and laughing, kind of putting up this front that she's putting on the whole time.
Yeah. Of
just trying to be Karin's she's watching over Karin and helping her all the time. And Karin's very confused. I think she's kind of representing the audience in the situation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't understand what's happening. And then you go through this goofy play of, it starts off with Mihiru sitting there with puppets like, Karin, I'll be here for you forever.
Yeah.
And Karin's like, or the Karin puppy's just like, oh, thank you. I've always needed you, and I could never do anything without you. And it goes on for a while. And then Mihiru pulls out her mace. Yeah. Starts chasing down Karin, smashing the floor and stuff.
Yeah.
With incredible comic strength.
Yeah.
Because when she smashes the floor the first time, it creates a big old crater. And then you go through this kind of childhood Wonderland scene of Karin, or Mihiru knocking Karin away with like a baseball. And she's like, roll, 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 roll. And she goes down these tubes, and then it kind of...
They loop this animation like 2-3 times, by the way.
It does a cool thing where... So the first thing I should say is the giraffe said, let the review of jealousy begin.
Mm-hmm.
And it does a cool thing of every time Karin gets knocked into the hole and going through the tube, she ends up in a different part with different people fighting each other.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of have subtle little parts in between everyone's fight where they're like, hey, pay attention to me. Why do you pay attention to her? They do it in a couple different ways. But that's generally the message that each individual fight is saying.
I didn't even pick that up.
Yeah. And then eventually, when they get to the point where they break through the stage and they're backstage behind the curtains, it's a cool little symbolism thing where Mihiru is finally showing her true emotions.
Yeah. Because
she's backstage, behind the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And then she finally tells Mihiru she wants to be there for her. That's the only thing she has.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mihiru, in typical main character fashion, inspires her.
Yeah.
To be who she really is.
Yeah. And
I was hoping that the fight would be a little longer after that. Like, they'd have a big fight. Like, an actual fight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just the tone of the episode. Probably it was a good idea that they didn't do that.
Yeah. And I think it was really cool that... you had basically said, like, we were watching this, and it's just like, oh man, I hope Mihiru and Karin fight. And that's exactly what happened this episode.
Yeah, because it was super... That's what Mihiru needed.
Yeah.
To grow into her own right.
Yeah, I think exactly. That's exactly what she needed to actually just become the person that she was meant to be. It's going to be cool seeing her develop further, I guess, the series progresses.
I don't think they're going to touch more on her.
Maybe not.
I think that was like the episode that they gave to her. Because each of the girls, I feel like it's only like a 12 episode show. So they're going to give each of the girls a little chance to have their own spotlight.
Makes sense.
Because, so I might be giving the show a little more credit. Maybe it's just I love it. It makes me smile. Just the artistics, the art and the music and everything. But I think it's getting... There's a lot of symbolism and messages in the background in the show.
Yeah, I'm not picking up on all of it personally, but it's just like I can certainly see it now that you're talking about them, like the whole review of jealousy thing. Like I didn't even think of that. It's just like, oh, that's actually a really cool way of looking at it. That's really fascinating. So I honestly think that this show has a lot of going for it, even outside of the amazing production values here. So might not resonate with anyone, or with everybody, but so far I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yep. So that's all for Review Starlight. What's last?
Last but not least, we have Steins Gate Zero. Oh, this episode was a doozy.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So basically, Daru and Hyajo are working on the time leap machine behind Okarin's back. They are not telling him that that's what they're doing. And like Hyajo hasn't even said that that's the reason she came back in the first place. So we see them working on it and failing a little bit because the microwave explodes because it was a piece of crap microwave that Daru picked up really, really cheap. And it cuts to a scene when Okabe is getting out of class and he sees Mayuri outside waiting for him, probably picking up where one of the last episodes ended. She was waiting for him. And so they start talking. They start reminiscing about things. But then eventually, Mayuri stops at one point and then decides, like, well, it's like, I've got something else that I've got to take care of. You go on ahead.
It's because Mayuri's talking about how, oh, don't worry, or this is how Suzu looked in the lab coat. But don't worry, we kept the other one safe. And Okabe's like, who cares?
Oh, yeah.
It's just a stupid lab coat.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mayuri kind of realizes that Okabe's not really, he doesn't seem to care at all about the lab members anymore.
Oh yeah,
and that's why she leaves.
Yeah, and then Okabe starts going back towards the lab, and Mayuri meets up with Ruka actually, and they're talking about how it's almost the Tanabata festival, and it's and how they like Tanabata and stuff like that, and eventually it's just like, well, maybe you can be his Orihime like you wanted when you were children. You've been around him and supporting him forever, and it's just like,
I think they're pointing out like a constellation.
Yeah,
in the sky. And
it's just like, yeah, I'll never be his Orihime. Like I wouldn't be shining or something to that effect. And then it cuts back to Okabe heading to the lab, and Hyajo's there. He doesn't know it, and she's taking a shower. She's taking a shower, and it's just like, oh crap, Okabe's almost here. We need to hide. We need to hide everything. It's just like, so they do that. They start making up a couple excuses, but then Okabe stumbles upon the gel bananas.
In the trash,
yeah.
Well, because he walks up and sees a bunch of bananas in the trash, and he starts digging through it.
And then he sees the gel bananas, and he's like, what's the meaning of this?
Starts freaking out.
And then Hyajo shows up, and then they start explaining what they're doing. And then Okabe freaks out. Like, he just starts going on, like, no, we can't mess with...
PTSD.
Yeah, we can't mess with stuff like this. Haven't I told you this? Haven't I explained this to you enough? Like, this needs to be destroyed and never tampered with again. He starts screaming at Hyajo. Then Daru, out of nowhere, just walks up and punches him in the face, and then walks away. After that, Hyajo and Okabe go up to the roof, and they start talking. And they start talking about, like, how there are certain things and laws in place, some things that God has dictated that shouldn't be interfered with or messed with. But then Hyajo basically counterpoints that with, it's like that may be true, but we need to, but a scientist is meant to see what ultimately we can change. Like, that's the role of science. If everything's predetermined and stuff like that, then what's the point of scientific endeavor anyway?
Yeah, she said that everything's a formula that can be solved.
Yeah, and Okabe, kind of dejected and defeated, storms off, and Daru comes up and he's like, so is Okabe truly lost? He's like, no, I don't think he is. I think there's still hope for him yet, because he has the exact same expression that I used to. I couldn't measure up to Kurisu. I always lost, and I always kind of had that same expression. But
and Okabe was walking away, and it showed him when she was talking about him. He didn't have like a depressed expression. He had angry and determined. It almost seemed like.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's just a desire to want to push past that. And then Okabe and Mayuri meet each other in a park that they used to go to all the time when they were children, and they start having a conversation, and then Mayuri finally just breaks down. She looks at Okabe and is just like no, nothing is the same anymore. It's like, I know that everything's different. I know that you're just trying to put up a front and stuff like that. It's like, if everything was truly the same, then why do your eyes look like they're suffering so much?
Yeah, and she says, maybe it would have been better if I died and Kurisu lived.
Yeah, and Mayuri's crying and Okabe's shouting, and it's just really emotional moment between these two, and it was just, it was really hard to watch. And then the rain stops, and then you see the constellation up in the sky, and it's just... And then Mayuri standing in front of it. And so that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, it's always... So Mayuri is such like a normally cheerful, happy character. And author wrote her as like just this kind of pillar of support for everybody. So whenever Mayuri is sad, it's just so hard to watch.
Exactly.
It's just like, you just feel it.
Yeah, this was a emotional kick to the nads.
Yeah.
It was really hard to watch, and I looked into it a little bit because I heard her say Orihime-sama, and I was like, what the hell does that mean? Because it's just like, what does anything with Bleach have to do with this?
Oh, I knew it wasn't Bleach.
I knew it wasn't either, but immediately that's where my mind also just kind of went. And so I looked into it, and Orihime is actually a reference to the not just the Star of Vega, which they point out in the show. It's actually a reference to an old Japanese story that revolves around Tanabata of Orihime and Takaboshi, I believe, who are like these two lovers who are represented by the Star of Vega and the Star of Altair in the sky, and they're split apart by the Milky Way galaxy. They're completely on the other sides. And they can only meet each other on one day of the year. And I think that's what Mayuri was kind of alluding to here, which is just like, she kind of wants to be, she sees Okabe as Altair, and she wants to be his Orihime.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch her wanting. You can see that she deep down wants to be with Okabe.
Yeah.
She wants to be Okabe's lover.
Yeah, she loves him. Yeah. Like, it's painfully obvious, but at the same time, it's just like, she knows that she'll never be that. And
Kurisu is who Okabe loves, and that's what's truly heartbreaking. And it's just like she'll never be his Orihime, or maybe they were always just meant to, or maybe they were just always meant to be apart. Mm-hmm. Like, they would never meet up. So that's just kind of makes this, kind of given that context a little bit, it makes that whole scene just a little bit sadder, a little more heavy.
Yeah.
So going back to when they're in the lab, and Okabe's throwing a tantrum, essentially, about why you shouldn't mess with time. I thought it was really cool, or really interesting thing to see Daru come up and punch him in the face, where you've, up to this point in the series, you've never seen Daru cause physical harm to anybody. Yeah. Like, Daru's just a gentle giant. Yeah. And they even point that out, but for Daru just to absolutely just wail on Okabe's face just like that, and then immediately after that he's yelling at him, just because you're upset. I can't imagine the pain you've gone through. Just because you're upset, though, doesn't mean you just get to trample all over everyone else's feelings. Yeah. And just the passion behind Daru trying to put Okabe back in his place of... not so much put him back in his place, but kind of get him to realize how much of an asshole he's being, was really cool to see. Because for the past couple episodes, they've been alluding to that, how Okabe's been ignoring everybody. Yeah. And kind of just focusing on his work, kind of burying his nose in his book, so to say, ignoring all the problems. Yeah. And him walking in on this kind of brought it all back to the surface. The boiling point is getting reached, and I almost think... okay, so I personally believe that this series is not just a spin-off. Mm-hmm. It's part of what... It connects to the other series. Because in the end of the series, they showed Kurisu was alive, Mayuri was alive, but they didn't necessarily show that World War III was avoided, definitively. I think what they're doing with this series is he's trying to reach Steins Gate, which, as Hyaja defined, Mayuri survives, Kurisu survives, and World War III is avoided. Mm-hmm. I think that's what this series is getting to, and I think that's how it's going to conclude. Yeah,
which... How they're exactly going to go up to that point, not entirely sure, because last episode we saw Kaguri standing on a roof, and she wasn't present at all in this episode, so maybe they'll make the group will make their move in the next couple episodes. We'll see.
I think something big is going to happen next episode.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm worried because if the way that Mayuri was talking, it's making me wonder, is she going to kill herself? Ugh. I hope not, because that'd be horrifying to watch. I don't know.
Man, imagine how Kabe would react to that, because he saw her die so many times, but I feel like it would be a lot heavier if he saw her kill herself. Like, imagine Okabe, happy scene kind of, Okabe goes and buys some food or something, he's like, oh, maybe Mayuri will like this. And then he walks into Mayuri's room or whatever, and he goes Doki Doki Literature Club with Mayuri just sitting there, or hanging there, from a rope.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would be really hard to watch, but also really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okabe's reaction to that. As dark as it sounds.
Yeah. Anyway, Steins Gate Zero continues to be an amazing show. Looking forward to seeing how it concludes.
Yeah, that's it for this week. Everything was good. If you have any comments about shows that you are interested in that we haven't covered so far, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. If you have any other opinions on what we did talk about today, also go ahead and leave a comment. If you'd like to see more of what we're doing, we're doing the podcast every week. Go ahead and subscribe. Ding that bell button to get notifications. I don't know how YouTube works, but thanks for joining us again for today, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Later, everybody.
Take it easy.